That's it. And just speaking on it, just the things that has happened and has transpired is like letting you see and understand that the rainbow represents the LGBTQ. Let's break down the acronym. The L is for lesbian, G is for gay, the B is for bisexual, T is for transgender, the Q is for questioning if you're not sure. Okay, the rainbow is trying to represent all inclusion, all inclusive. But wait 1 minute. Let's go to Genesis chapter 9. I'm setting up my covenant with you, including your children, will come after you. This is God setting up a covenant with Noah after the flood, along with everything alive around you, birds, farm animals, wild animals that came out of the ship with you. I want you to see what the rainbow stands for, according to scripture. I'm setting up my covenant with you that you never again will everything living be destroyed by flood waters. Now, never again will a flood destroy the earth. No, never again will a flood destroy the earth. Let's go to verse 12. God continued, this is the sign of the covenant I am making between me and you and everything living around you and everyone living after you. I'm putting my rainbow in the clouds as a sign of a covenant between me and the earth. Okay, this is what the rainbow is representing. From now on, when I form a cloud over the earth and the rainbow appears in the cloud, I'll remember my covenant between me and you and everything living that never again will flood, destroy all life. When the rainbow appears in the clouds, I'll see it and remember the eternal covenant between God and everything living, every last living creature on earth. And God said, this is the sign of the covenant I've set up between me and everything living on the earth. So now this is telling me that there's a covenant that was set up between God and man, but this covenant that was set up between God and man of a rainbow showing that there won't be a flood anymore. So this rainbow is a representation of a covenant between God and man. Nowhere in here is this rainbow a covenant and letting you see that it has anything to do with this Pride Month or this communion. This was the month of June. So let me go off of here. Let me go to this now. So this next subject is about Pastor Creflo Dollar. And what Pastor Creflo done was Pastor Creflo has kind of recant and retracted all his words or messages, subjects about talking about tithing. And what he's done in return was he's broken down about tithing according to the law and according to grace. So now the internet, social media is buzzing about it. And the thing about it that I want y'all to understand about this whole situation, if you don't watch the sermon, if you don't study out and see what he's talking about, you will get twisted and mixed up where people actually think he's saying that he doesn't tithe anymore or that you shouldn't tithe anymore. And I wanted to bring this out because if you actually watch the sermon, he's saying that you shouldn't tithe according to the law. You should tithe according to grace. Now, the reason why he's saying this, and it's so true and so much fact, that he said for years, and he said he's even used the tithe and the offering to scare people and intimidate them, make them feel they're going to hell if they don't do it, or force it on them. And you've cursed with a curse, even this whole nation. Yes, that's in scripture, but that's not going to according to what is it being talked about. Okay, so Malachi 3:10 says, bring all your tithe into the storehouse. Do you understand the whole concept about when the people had their first fruit, everything they had, the Lord said, give a tenth to the priest. The priest will be your pastors right now. Give a tenth to the priest, and then the priest will take care of the house. The people were stealing the tithe. When they started stealing the tithe, God turns around and sends a prophet in, Malachi, and he says, since y'all can't give it to the priest and y'all stealing it, bring it all to the storehouse. And then he said it'll be a curse. So all of that, he made it actually a law to tithe. But when Abraham tithed at the beginning in the book of Genesis, he's not tithing according to a law because there's no law given. This is 400 plus years before. That's deep. And the reason why I'm saying it's 400 years before the tithe was implemented, this was before Moses came on the scene, before Moses went into the mountain, before Moses got the 10 commandments, before Moses went into the book of Leviticus and got the people from out of Egypt and sat them in the middle of nowhere in the wilderness and start breaking down laws, Levitical laws to them. Abraham was on the scene way before this, sitting in the tithe. So what is actually happening is we were never supposed to tithe according to a law. Tithe meaning tenth. We was always supposed to tithe according to grace, which means you tithe out of your willing heart, not because somebody makes you and not because you're scared or intimidated. For years, somebody's with me. Somebody understand this. I felt so bad when I didn't pay my tithe. I felt like, you know what? God is going to strike me dead tonight. I felt so bad when somebody said, give $5 more, give $20 more, and I didn't have it to give. And I felt like since I didn't have it, I done spent it on something I shouldn't have spent on. I wasted it, and God is going to get me for this. None of that is scripture. That's all Levitical law. That's all law from the Torah. You are an American. All law that was wrote down was for the Jewish people. We're living under grace. You are not Jewish. So you're living under grace. You do things under grace, which means you have more than just the blessings of what happens if you follow the law. You're joint heirs and double heirs. So you get a bigger increase from tithing. So now if I'm tithing out of grace, I get more than when I'm just tithing according to the law. That's like saying if I add 1 plus 1, it equals 2. That's law. But if I go according to grace, I can do 1 plus 1 and it can equal 12. It can equal 10. It can equal 15. I'm preaching. It can equal 20. Because what happens now is the law holds me in boundaries. But when God has grace and God has favor over my life, there is no limit to it. As the word says, it expands my bounds and I can live abundantly and more, according to John 10:10. That's good. So what has actually happened, any excuse or any reason for someone not to tithe to start with, now they hear this whiff of Pastor Creflo and now they're saying, yeah, I didn't tithe anyway. I knew something was wrong about it. And yeah, this and that. But Creflo is not your pastor. And then you don't even pay attention to what Creflo has to say. You never listen to him now. Now all of a sudden he has this and it's posted on social media. Now you have something to say.